Okay,
Yeah.
great. So firstly, thanks everyone for joining today's workshop. We are going to be covering how you can build a career in product management, whether you are just starting out or you're planning to transition from a different field into product management. Just a bit of background about myself. So I'm Arjun. I'm the founder of a career tech startup called Pivot. The focus of Pivot is to help people make career transitions from one field or function or industry to another. And the way we do it is by helping you plan out your entire transition, connecting you to industry experts for one-on-one guidance, and helping you figure out the best industry tools for your career switch, right? So that's the background on us. Little bit about Bhavana before I turn it over to you, Bhavana and Madhav, to share more about yourself. But I was just going through the bio, and I know, I mean, I've spoken with you previously. I feel like Bhavana, you have really traversed the whole space of product management in some way, because you started out as an engineer and then you transitioned into product management. You worked at Big Basket, which is a B2C platform. And then again, you switched to another company called Hopscotch, which I believe is an e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
And today you are in London pursuing your MBA from Kingston. So welcome to this workshop and thanks so much for joining. And Madhav, your, I think, skills and your experience really complement Bhavana as well, because you have spent majority of your product management career in B2B space, right? Yeah. So you have worked at Whatfix and you are currently with Lambda Test, both rapidly growing B2B startups in the SaaS space. So I think between the both of you, we've really covered like 80 to 90% of the kind of career goals that most product managers have. So I'm really glad to have you both. Anything that you want to share, Bhavana?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, very glad to be here. So I think after 3 months, I am back to a platform speaking to lots of people. So thank you, Arjun. And I really, I'm glad to be hosted as a mentor, even on Pivot. And I look forward to many more mentoring sessions from Pivot. And like you said, yes, I've been a QA engineer before, and that also accidentally happened. And then even the transition from a QA engineer to product management, again, I mean, I was very fortunate enough for it to happen, though I did not have an MBA, though I did not have a computer science background. So definitely it is possible for anyone who is planning to do this transition. So, I mean, in the initial days of career, it was more like, I mean, for a product manager, you need to have computer science degree, MBA, but that is no longer the thing. And I am a live example here, and I've seen many such people. So yeah, looking forward to share more insights.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And Madhav, anything you would like to share before we kick off?
Yeah, I think I'm good. I just want to tell everyone that whatever I tell here, these are my opinions. Okay, I'm not a very big fan of guiding people and doing all sorts of things. Not a lot of talks and all. So these are not facts. These are just my opinion, right? And that's it. And let's get started.
Okay, great. So just the first topic that we had outlined for today's session is really kind of basic question that we get from a lot of users on our platform, right? When they're contemplating a new career. People from really all sorts of backgrounds. It hasn't been like one specific kind of, set of skills or experience. Everybody at some point, it seems like, is contemplating a product management career, right? They may not pull the trigger and go full on after that, but they are thinking about it because everybody is talking about it, right? And we even mentioned this in one of our social media posts earlier, where we talked about this commonly used phrase that a product manager is kind of like a mini CEO, right? Which makes people realize that, okay, you can get a broad experience in all of the key domains within tech, within your specific industry, by pursuing a product management career, and it has a lot of great future prospects, right? You can start your own company or join other companies, right? So we have had people from consulting backgrounds, sales, and obviously engineers and designers and multiple other domains thinking about a career in this space, right? So
Hmm.
my question to you and Madhav, maybe you can start, is, how does one really assess if product management is the right career for them? And it's not that anybody can get 100% assurance, but
Right.
what are some of the, telling signs that you might be ready for a product management career?
Madhav, you're going first, or should I go first?
I think we may have lost Madhav. So maybe,
Awesome.
Bhavana, you can. Okay, you're back. Madhav, I think we lost you just there for a second, but you're back. So yeah, please take it away.
Sure. Okay, so Arjun, what I was saying, that I'll start with two things why you should not, right? So one is, you won't believe this actually happened. One is because there's a word manager in it, right? So people, a lot of young folks are generally very much attracted to this, that, I am a manager, I'm a product, but I'm also a manager, right? So it's not why you should choose, right? But why you should, because if you think that you are a problem solver, if you see yourself that over the course of last few years you have been very actively involved in solving problems of different kind, it need not necessarily be tech, it could be problems which you are facing at home, it could be problems in your college, or it could be problems that you're currently facing in your job also, which is not directly for your job, but maybe you're facing it through some other channels. So problem solving is one of the core principles at product management. You have to be solving a problem if you are a product manager. And apart from this, you should have good ability in terms of listening and trying to analyze how the solution could be, right? So there are a lot of information that you will be receiving from multiple sources. You should be able to analyze all of them and then channelize into a proper solution. So these are the one or two things which I would say, if you think that these are something that you see yourself doing, then it is a good career option for you. Over to
Great.
you,
So I
Bhavana.
think, yeah, no, I will just add quickly there. I think, Madhav, those are some great points with regard to, your core, I won't say soft skills, but they are more like characteristic or behavioral skills, right? Which we will definitely get into in another topic as well. So, Bhavna, just, same question, maybe in a slightly different context, right? We talked about the different kinds of backgrounds that people usually make a transition to product management into. Um, One thing is the background, the other is also the kind of opportunities that are available in different tech fields, right? So like fintech, health tech, edutech, couple of other like B2B SaaS platforms also. So is there any connection between your background and, A, whether you should be a product manager, and B, if you have decided to be a product manager, then which of these domains, different domains, might be apt for you?
Okay. So yes, whether product management is right for you and whether the background experience is an important thing. So the answer to the second question is yes. So you should, it's not like you will just straight away after graduation become a product manager. That does not happen. So definitely anyone who is trying to transition, they definitely need to have a solid background, right? So it could be, for instance, in my case it was tech. Okay, so I've even seen an example in Big Basket, who was working in a warehouse. Okay, a person was working in the warehouse, and then he was so interested in problem solving that he eventually grew as a to a senior level in the warehouse. And then because one of the product manager was very closely working in with the people in the warehouse, he even got a chance to become a product manager from warehouse to a tech product manager.
Wow.
And he did not have any tech background. Okay, and today he's doing great. So the point that I'm trying to make is you really need to have one solid background. So for example, in my case it was tech. Okay, in the other person's case it was business background, right? So he really knew how to improve the warehouse operations. So it's really about, if at all you're really good at what you're already doing. Okay, it could be in tech or business or design also, for example. if you have a solid background experience in one of these things, then you can definitely make a move to product management. And one thing that I would like to say is, see, the grass always looks greener on the other side. That has happened with me. So when I was an engineer, I was like, oh, I want to move away from coding. I want to be a manager, like Madhav was saying, the fancy title. And then once I became a product manager, life became very stressful. Okay, it was no longer, and it was really no longer a person who is going to sit in their desk and do the job, but it's really about like roaming around, literally running around many people to get the job done. So is product management right for you? I think one main question that you really need to answer yourself is, are you more of a people person, that you're okay to be in meetings? Because trust me, half the day in your product management work is going to be meetings. Okay, so in my case, I really love to be that person. Okay, so I love talking, I love to be in the meetings, more than coding. So it really depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a person who wants to like just sit before the computer, do your work, and then peace out, or maybe even if you're, let's say, a customer support executive, if you want to transition, let's say you're possibly handling processes, right? So if you're happy doing that, you don't want to be in meetings and then run around people, then you really need to answer that question for yourself. Is people management okay for you? Are you a people person? So I think that's the main question to answer. And whether you have a solid background in whatever you're doing, that's the second main question to answer.
Wow, that was very well articulated. I think it gave a lot of clarity around like both the things. Like whether your background can be taken into context when contemplating a product management career, and also understanding the domain itself and kind of the ongoing requirements on a day-to-day basis, rather than just thinking about it at a very high surface level to understand whether you would be a good fit. That makes a lot of sense. Just one follow-up, and Madhav, Bhavana, either of you feel free to take this one. Like I said, there are multiple different domains within, tech startups, and also outside of tech, there are certain companies who are just going big on building their digital platforms. Like even FMCG companies are going big on building their digital platforms today, right? And they hire product managers and all that. Same with financial services companies, which are traditionally non-tech companies, but realize the importance of digital transformation, and so are hiring product managers. Is there a way to kind of connect your interests and skills with which of these paths you follow? I think, Bhavana, you already touched upon like understand what you're good at and take that as the foundation, right? Apart from that, for a lot of people who don't have a product management background, how do you kind of, sparse between these different fields to identify the best one for yourself?
Yeah, so I think, see, for example, I'll give you my example itself. Okay, so when I transitioned, I had no idea what design is. Okay, I didn't know what is user experience or UI design, or I didn't even know how to think from a business background. So I mean, I'm seeing, I think most of them are from engineering background, and some of them are from consultants and business analysts. So I think being a consultant and business analyst, definitely you are already coming from a business background, right? So you really have a strong influence on the business stakeholders there. But see, for example, in case of a consultant, if at all they are on the tech side, then great, right? If they understand simple things of what engineers will talk about, then yes, that is really good. Now, the thing is, let's say I saw someone who is from wealth management. Now, the thing is that is very different, right? So now, how will you transition from wealth management to product management? I think you will have to take, like, maybe it won't be possible to make a direct jump into product management, because I think the in between steps will be something like, okay, probably they can become a program manager or a project manager, right? Because so if at all you're, let's say you are good at management, then maybe let's say you get into project management, and then in that way you will start interacting with product managers every day, right? Because you being the project manager, you are responsible for the whole delivery of the project, and you are supposed to interact with engineers, product managers, stakeholders. So that's, and designers as well. So I think getting into that project manager first would be the first step, I will say, so that you get a hands-on on interacting with different stakeholders, all three major segments: tech, business, and design. And then eventually you can always express interest saying that, yes, you want to be a product manager now. And generally that internal transition works well.
Got it.
Yeah,
Madhav,
I
just
think I
before you
also
share your
agree with
thoughts,
Bhavana here.
just one second. I see a lot of questions in the chat box. I just want to let people know that we'll be taking up these questions, in about 20 minutes or so. But please continue to share them in the chat box. Sorry, Madhav, please go ahead.
Right. Yeah, so I think I agree with Bhavna. There are, of course, when you are in a certain domain for a long time, then you understand that, and it certainly helps if you are going into product management in a very similar space. So let's say if you are a technical person and you go into a tech product role, of course it helps. If you are, as Bhavna said, if you are into wealth management, right, you go into a product which is making specifically for wealth creation. So it of course helps, right? So, but as I said, it is not the end of the world. Yes, it might help you in the beginning, but all these other factors that maybe we'll talk about in the course of this talk as well, all these matter a lot more than just your background, right? There are people who have learned it through their MBA. There are people who have learned it on the job. There are people who have learned it in the college itself while doing their projects, right? And there are people like me who learned it by doing their startup. So you can learn it by doing anything. It's more about those soft skills that we'll cover, Arjun, and not so much about your current background.
Got it. Got it. That's very helpful. So I think that's a good segue for our next topic here, right? That we were going to cover, Madhav. You already touched upon it briefly. But product management is a relatively new field, right? I mean, I would say probably in India, it's come up in the last 5 to 10 years in full force, right? So people are still understanding what are the core skill sets that are required. Again, you have shared a little bit in terms of the behavioral skills, perhaps, but I want to kind of discuss this in two ways. One is the most important hard skills and behavioral skills, right? So the technical and behavioral skills that are typically needed, and also any variation that you see, in these skill requirements from company to company, or in, certain sub-industries versus other sub-industries. So that's one. The other is, because it's a relatively new field, we have been seeing that there's a lot of evolution also in terms of what kind of skills are required for the current tech platforms, web platforms that are being built, right? For example, Web3 and NFTs, I mean, anything that is attached to Web3, which is blockchain, NFTs, etc. That is also, for a lot of our users, impacting their mindset around what kind of skills might be needed, not just for today, but for the future as well. So yeah, maybe Bhavana, you can just start by sharing your thoughts on the core skill requirements for product managers today.
Yeah, so I mean, I would like to definitely pick on the point which you made. See, for example, those Web3, NFTs, blockchain, trust me, I have no idea what it is. Okay. And I do consider myself as a good product manager. Okay. So I think to get started, you really need to know the basics first, right? These are definitely, yes, it really depends on which industry you want to get into, right? So for example, in e-commerce, you don't need to know this NIFT and blockchain, for example, working in Big Basket, right? So I'm saying these are something which you can learn maybe in the course, like once you have cracked it already. I would say the main things, it's about problem solving, which I think everyone here who is attending this, they would be doing some kind of problem solving, be it in customer service, be it in process, be it in wealth management, right? Be it in consulting. So problem solving, I think everyone would be doing it. It's just about doing it with, I think, with technology. That's what product management is about, right? So the other thing, in terms of hard skills, I would say, see, nowadays, most of them expect things like A/B testing, tools, knowledge to be quite fundamental, right? So how do you do A/B testing? So it's not really like, okay, you will just have two buttons with different text and then just seeing it. So I mean, on a fundamental level, yes, that's the idea, but you really need to come up with better things on how you're going to measure it, right? Is this the only way? Is it only the text, or is it only the placement of the button, right? So it could be even fields also. So I think product management is more about problem solving using tech and with much more critical analysis. That's what I would say, right? So that's the main thing. And if at all you're familiar with fundamental concepts like A/B testing tools, knowledge, and user onboarding, right? Because every app will have user onboarding, be it B2B segment or B2C segment. So it's really these fundamentals. If you know, if you can prove that in your interviews or in the assignments that they give, I think you're good. Because trust me, I have been mentoring many aspiring product managers, and even with the assignments that they come up with, it is not related to NFTs or blockchain. They are very quite fundamental, saying, okay, we need to, let's say, improve this particular feature in our current app. How are you going to do it? How are you going to measure it? I think the most important thing is critical analysis, and how are you going to measure the success of the product, because that's the thing which many of them miss in the interviews. So I think it's about critical analysis and problem solving.
Perfect. Madhav, same question, just maybe if you can, talk about the skills that you think are important, but also maybe give an example or two of how you have applied really those skills in a more practical way, in your career.
Right. Awesome. So I think Bhavana covered it really well, that there are a lot of soft skills as a product manager that you need, right? But it does not mean that you have to have only soft skills and there's no hard skill required. It's not like that, guys. You have to study. We have to work on some of the hard skills, a few others. And as Arjun said, I'll give an example of my own experience, right? Let's say we talk about how do you do customer research. As a product manager, you are owning that particular feature or the product completely, right? There are several new requests that might be coming from customers and the market. How do you understand that what is the one that you have to build and why you should be building that? So this is where your customer research comes into picture. And I think you would have heard this very famous dialogue by a Ford company, that when they were doing customer research, right? At that time, there were no cars, right? They were trying to understand what do people want, and what people said was that we want faster horses, right?
Yeah.
So what this means for us, that we should not just blindly trust what the customer is saying or what the market is saying or what the competition is saying. We should take that input, understand and analyze. Analyze again goes back to the soft skill that we were talking about, right? So you have to analyze all of that and then come to a solution. That it is not that they want faster horses. So you have to go a little deeper. Why do you want faster horses? Right? Then they will be like, I want to go to this place to this place very fast. So faster horses is not what they meant. They meant they want to go fast, right? So that is where we come in. Now we have to focus on what is it that is painful for the customer, right? So this is one example. In my career, I have used it several times during the course of my B2B journey. So we have made such great products. Even in B2B, we have made such great designed products. So I'm very optimistic on that front. But apart from that, I would also go ahead, Arjun, and I'll take a minute to add other few important aspects from the hard skill part, which people can improve. So apart from what Bhavana said, I think few other tools like visualizing data. It could be through multiple channels. It could be any BI tool. It could be Amplitude. It could be Tableau. But since you will be getting a lot of these data, since you're going for customer research, you will get all these data. Now you have to visualize them properly so that you make sense out of it. And that is when you will take it such BI tools, business intelligence tools, or in any kind of graphical interface. right?
Madhav, you're
Apart
breaking
from
a
this,
little bit.
I think one which
You're
is
just breaking
I
a
don't know
little
if
bit.
it
I
is
don't know if it's your internet.
exactly a soft skill, but communication.
Sorry, just sorry to interrupt, Madhav. Your internet was a bit choppy. I don't know if you want to like just move closer to your modem or something like that, where it's a slightly stronger network, but it keeps kind of running in and out in between.
Okay. I'm sorry. So let me just join back, and till then maybe you can continue. I'll just join in a bit.
Sure. So Bhavna, we will pick that back up when Madhav join. Until then, I just wanted to, take this one question which has been recurring in our chat here. So it's obviously a very important one, right? And it kind of alludes to what we are going to talk about next, which is career trends from a product management standpoint, right? So one of the things which a lot of people seem to be talking about is the requirement for an MBA or having some sort of role at a startup which required you to be involved in the product building as a co-founder, or even as a kind of a um, jack of all trades who's involved in product and a couple of other things, right? What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so MBA definitely it's not needed for you to become a product manager. Okay, so the only reason why you would need an MBA is a couple of things. So one is either you would want to reach, like, let's say, CXX position at some point in time. Okay, and that's the reason I am doing this MBA. And now the other thing is, because I also get this question often, that why are you doing MBA after you've transitioned into product management? Okay, so it's really to if you would need to do MBA only if you want to expand your like knowledge horizon. Okay, because me coming from a technical background, I was like, every solution I always looked from a technical point of view. Okay, but that's not the thing. And now as you grow in your career, you, if at all you want to become like CPO or CEO at some point in time in a big organization, you would need to understand different things. Okay, it could be things like, let's say, even cash flow statement or balance sheet. Okay, I didn't even know what these things even meant, but now I do understand these are kind of essentials in running the organization. So I think MBA is really to broaden your horizon, and it is definitely not a necessary thing to do before you become a PM. So typically, what happens is, let's say, people who have done, let's say, engineering or some, let's say, BCom or some other degree, and they have been into, let's say, something into operational roles, for example, and then they realize that, no, I really need to, let's say, expand my knowledge, deepen my knowledge. And also what happens is, let's say, the salary that is given, let's say, to those people, if it is in a lower range, doing that MBA, definitely, let's say, I have seen transition happening from, like, let's say, people who are earning 10 lakhs, and after MBA they're earning like 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs also. So if you really want to make that big jump in salary and also have the MBA as a feather in the cap, definitely a master's degree will help. Not currently, but in the future. But it's not a prerequisite to become a product manager. That is what I would say, Madhav.
Got it. So yeah, Madhav. No, that's fine. Madhav, welcome back. I hope the internet's better here. It seems to be better here. But I think we were talking about skills with you, and just we kind of segued a little bit to understanding whether MBA was a core requirement for becoming a product manager. And Bhavna shared her thoughts. So I mean, feel free to kind of pick it back up where you left with regard to the skills. But I think you can also connect your answer to what you think about the need for an MBA degree for a PM role.
Right. Awesome. I think my last point that I wanted to cover kind of covers and gets right into what Bhavna said. My last point was actually about communication. Different forms of communication. You have to listen, you have to talk, you have to read and write. Right? These are something that is very, very essential to a product manager, because we will be dealing with so many people, right, who actually we don't even directly manage. So it could be stakeholders from outside, it could be our customers, it could be our leadership team, it could be our juniors. So all that becomes a lot more important, that how do you communicate to them, right? And all these things are not something that anyone, I don't believe that anyone is good at all these things by birth, right? They have to go through the grind. They have to learn all of these. So B school is, of course, a very nice place to get all these things in, because you get exposure to almost everything you would do as a business person in B school. So of course it helps a lot. I would say, if you want to become a product manager, and if you want to do MBA, it's a great match. But again, having said that, it does not necessarily mean that you have to do it. You can choose to maybe do it, maybe not do it and do something else. So you might be good in that particular field, but you might not be doing everything that an MBA provides, right? An MBA also gives you a lot of things like time management. If you are already good at time management, maybe you don't need an MBA. If you are good at communication, there are so many other things that you can do, right? So not always it is necessary, but it definitely helps a lot. I would say, if you want to give it like a percentage, I would still say it goes up to 40 to 50%, that it will definitely help you.
Got it. That was very helpful and objective, Madhav. So I think that probably helps put things into perspective as to, where MBA can help you and where you may not necessarily need it. It's not like a one size fits all answer that, everybody either needs it or nobody needs it at all, right? So you have to understand for yourself and your background, experience, skill sets, whether an MBA is going to complement that into helping you transition into product management or become a better product manager. So that was very insightful. The next thing, again, which we have already started discussing, is just broader trends in product management, right? So we already talked about skills and how to identify whether you're a good fit for this kind of a role. But again, because this is still a fairly nascent field, right? Just 5-10 years old since it's been there in India. What are some of the things you currently see are developing into important trends for the near future for product management as a field?
Okay. Madhav, you want to take that or shall I take it?
Sure. Okay, let me start this time.
Yeah.
What I feel is that earlier, when product management started, I think about, let's say, 4-5 years back, at least in the Indian startup, right? There was not a lot of things that everyone knew. Even when I started my career, I did not know product management as a career, right? So there were very few options. But now, as I see, there are a lot of things, a lot of ways the whole product management as a space has grown, and we have so many different roles that are available right now. So for example, right now there's technical product managers, so people who are good with tech and they want to still continue in tech, but they also have a love for solving problems, right? And but they are really, really great at tech, so they want to solve tech problems. So we have a lot of Lambda Test is a testing platform company, so they help testers and developers. So here we need people like that. There are a lot of people who are technical product managers here, TPM, right? Apart from this, there are also people who want to transition into a product leader, right? So they kind of go into the trajectory of going from PM to senior PM to a group product manager, and then maybe to a associate director or a director level, right? But someone might not want to go in that way, right? What does he do after, let's say, PM and senior PM? What does he do or she do? So there are ways you can also achieve this. There are principal product managers where you are still at a much higher position, like in terms of responsibilities, but you are still handling it alone, right? So there are so many avenues that have grown in the past few years, and I believe that this has also led to the whole product, like we are talking about, right? The whole hype of product management, why people are getting interested in it. So I believe that the future is good. We have all these avenues coming in, and of course we have seen a lot of places where senior product leaders, like let's say the director or the VPs, they are kind of transitioning into the CXO role as well, right? So this definitely helps. There's a CPO role which has also gotten introduced in the recent times. So I think there is a great future for this as a career line, and people who are just starting it out should not be worried about that. Maybe I am an introvert, is there anything for me? I don't want to climb up so much in the ladder. I just don't want to manage people. Is there something for me or not? There is definitely everything for everyone here.
That's a great answer. Bhavna, just maybe quickly your thoughts on this, because I see a lot of questions, honestly, and I really want to get to them as soon as possible.
Yes. So quickly 2 points. So career trends. I think there are two ways that I would say that you can grow in your product management field. So one is, let's say, if I'm from e-commerce, if I really want to be in e-commerce, even for the next 10 years, right? Because that's anyway a growing field. And let's say, be it retail tech, Big Basket or Hopscotch, things like that, or Amazon. Now that is like going deep, deep, deep. And here, like he said, group product manager. So it could be, let's say, you're working on search, you're working on customer experience, you're working on payments also. Like, you have to realize that each of these is a very, very broad field. And then let's say I even got a chance to work on the operation side of things, like the delivery app or the riders app, right? So this is like going deep in one particular industry, let's say retail tech. But what I would suggest is, again, depends on your interest. So, for example, now after my MBA, I want to explore B2B field because I have never developed products for a B2B customer. I've majorly focused only on B2C. So it's really about your interest. And now fintech is growing a lot. So I really want to explore the fintech industry because I have no idea about it. So it's really about what is your interest, whether you want to go deep, deep, deep in one particular industry, or you want to explore like edtech, fintech, and other things as well. Of course, like he said, you can get into CPO roles, and that's like usual thing for any role. And you can also become a consultant as well. So that is also an option. Let's say you work in a company for like 5-6 years, and then you gain enough experience, and then you can be a freelance consultant as well. So that is also an option. Yeah.
Arjun, I would just like to add, one of the major prospect actually is that you become a startup founder. So a lot of product managers actually go ahead and start their own companies.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I agree with that one. I don't know if I'll have a future. I don't know if I'll have a future career in product management, but I feel like I started at completely zero, and I definitely know at least 0.1 or 0.2 of product building today. It's definitely a great exercise to learn more about digital products if you are not getting a job and you really want to get into product management. The final part of our discussion is probably the most important reason why people are here today, right? Which is, okay, I understand all of the knowledge, trends, experiences you all have shared, but ultimately it has to translate towards something. And that something is for me to get a tangible role in product management. And the issue today with job search is that it's really a broken process, right? Most of the people apply through job portals like LinkedIn, Naukri, Monster, all of these, right? And a couple of other niche ones, maybe people have heard of AngelList and all those things, right?
Yeah.
But every role, or at least every above average role at a premium company gets more than 100 applications, right? And so even folks who have experience in product management and good pedigrees sometimes fall by the wayside because the recruiter, or the ATS systems do not filter those resumes or those CVs for whatever reasons, right? So, I mean, yes, it's a big channel, and I won't say completely ignore job portals, but based on your experience, both in terms of landing roles at product companies, and also being on the other side of the table, when you're interviewing people, perhaps, and reviewing resumes, what are some of the tips that you would give to people in the room from a job search strategy standpoint? Bhavana, maybe you can start.
Yeah, so definitely I have reviewed a lot of aspiring PM resumes. And one main thing which I've noted is, let's say they try to fit it in one page, okay, because that's the standard. No, that's not the standard. I've been using 2-page resumes forever now. So I don't think 1-page resume is a kind of thing which is kind of standard, because of which you have to stuff in. Because of which a lot of important points get missed out, and ATS the application tracking software, it will not even get you to the next person if the resume does not have keywords, right? So you really need to have things like, let's say, excellent communication skills. Okay, it is a given. Of course, it's a given thing for everyone, but you need to have it in your resume. Right. So be it, if at all you have managed a lot of people, for example, I have never managed even one person, So I don't even know if I'm good at it or bad at it. But if at all you have managed a team, even if it's like 2 people or 10 people, you should highlight it in your resume, because it's a very, very important thing. If you're able to manage a team of your own, then it's a great skill to have. So somewhere I think what I've seen is people overlook these things, that, oh, maybe this is not required, this is not very important. But I think highlighting these things, because these are transferable skills, ultimately it is all people management. And trust me, product management is equal to 50% people management. That's what I have understood. And in terms of job strategies, I'll share my experience as well. I have applied to Google, Salesforce, Amazon in last year, and then even 2 years before. I also never got a call back, in spite of having product management experience in an e-commerce field. So the thing is, applying on the job portals, it's a very, very rare thing that you might get a call back, because literally there's so many applications. I think the best way that has worked for me, because I got a call from Amazon and Google Switzerland in the last 6 months. And that has happened only because of personal branding. Okay. And what I would highly recommend everyone who is attending here, is start writing your thoughts, start putting out your thoughts on LinkedIn, or even if it's a blog, pick one platform, put your thoughts out there, show that you can think critically, show that you can solve a problem, show that you are paying attention to the apps that you're using every day, you're thinking about how you can improve it. So these thoughts, how are you going to talk about all this in an interview? And you don't even have space to write about all this in your resume, right? So it should be out there in public somewhere, be it LinkedIn or Medium or your own website. Put it there somewhere so that recruiters see you and they will come to you. I think that's the only job strategy which has ever worked for me. Whenever I applied, I never got a job. Only when someone else came to me, that is how it has always worked. It is really good salary also that they offer. I think personal branding is a must thing these days. And in case you're still in that journey, because it does take quite a lot of time. It takes it took me 2 years, probably because I was slow and steady. But if at all you can start up and then do it more frequently, more consistently, then yes, you can achieve within 6 months itself. So definitely get started. That's the best thing. And referrals work the best. Otherwise, in case this is not an option, I think the other best way is referrals, because applying to companies, it has never worked for me also. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, so kind of like more inbound based rather than outbound kind of strategy.
Yes.
I feel like that is becoming more and more relevant for a lot of the in-demand fields, right? I mean, data analytics is something that I saw the same thing happening.
Yeah.
But Madhav, I don't exactly know whether you would completely agree with Bhavana here in terms of the requirement for personal branding. I'm not sure, but would love your thoughts on what you think about personal branding's role in getting a job. And also, what are some of the other ways that have worked for you and you've seen work for others?
Right. So as Bhavana said, yes, personal branding definitely helps a lot. And it also helps you, I think the first part of the personal branding, which is jotting all the things in your mind and putting it out there. That is actually something that is really, really important. Even if you are not putting it out in open, just put it down, because that is a very, very important task that you as a product manager would be doing on a day-to-day basis, maybe even every hour. Right. So that is very important. If you feel that you are not confident, or you are just not that social media kind of person and you don't want to put it out, that is also fine. What I would suggest is that try to see that, of course, you are a product manager, you want to become a product manager, you want to solve problems. So you would have found some kind of niche that, okay, I want to solve in this industry or this particular company or this particular problem, right? So try to see how people who are already working as product managers, what are they doing about the problems, right? What are they writing down? Are they saying something about it in the open, or are they going to these talks? What are they saying about it, right? Understand that, reach out to them and try to find a problem and a probable solution to it also, right? And that is how, if you reach out to them, that is when it clicks that, oh yeah, this guy is looking into it. Even if it is not maybe the best solution, but it will still get you eyeballs. So in that way, it will be a much easier route. Of course, all the other things that you have to do as part of your job search, which includes, as Bhavna mentioned, your keyword addition of your keywords, your resumes, and everything that is happening. Like that doesn't stop. But these are some additional ways I think that you can add and also improve yourself. So one, follow some of the good product managers. Not good, I would just say that follow some product manager in the space or in the company that you want to, and see what they are trying to solve, what are the problems that they are facing, and try to come up with a problem and a solution statement to them. I think that would definitely get the eyeballs. And these days,
Correct.
actually, Arjun, you won't believe people who, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, people who are still in college, like still in college by, I mean, second year in college, right? They are giving such amazing problem and solution statement. So it's not
Yeah.
on your experience, guys. I'm sure if you
Yeah.
have that skill, you will be able to get it. So no worries
Yeah.
there.
No,
Yeah.
that's a great answer, Madhav. And I think you basically took the whole referral strategy also to the next level, because ultimately when people start seeing the kind of potential you have, right, through the problem and solution statements that you're sharing, I think that's when people reach out to you or become more comfortable recommending you
Yeah.
for a role
Yeah.
in their network or at the company. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I think again, we have a ton of questions here. So I really want to
Okay.
now switch to that and start addressing some
Sure.
of these. The number
Yeah.
one question that I am seeing here, right? It's asked in a different format by multiple people. Is okay. I understand there are a lot of these important skills that are required to become a good product manager, right? We have talked about like building lo-fi wireframes, having some knowledge of UX UI, understanding the business, data analytics, problem solving, right? So it definitely has a very specific requirement, even though it might change slightly depending on the company and the role, right? How do you go about acquiring these skills, right? Especially the ones where people feel they lack the most critical skills that you guys have pointed out. So Bhavna, I mean, one thing I would say is, we have already addressed the big elephant in the room around MBA and whether that's
Yeah.
required, right? So you can
Yeah.
feel free to touch upon that. But apart from that, if you see any other good avenues for skill building or acquisition, what would you share with people?
See, I would say, I think in terms of design, learning the user experience, how should it be, or how should the UI look like? I think it will definitely take everyday effort. That's what I would say. Okay. And the way I learned is just by reading books. I did not spend even $1 on any of these costly courses which are offered these days. So I just read like 3, 4 books, which really got me thinking about how should a design be. Okay, it's even about like the design of a door. Okay, and many of us might have read the design of everyday things where it talks about the stove example, the gas stove, how should it be, right? So I think design thinking, the best way to develop it is by reading books, so that you get started on how you should even think about user experience and user interface, and then you
Yeah.
should start applying it in your everyday. Okay, so it could be even a sink. Let's say you walk into a restaurant, and then it has happened with me personally many times that I don't even understand how to, like, how does that sink work, how do I turn it on, right? And sometimes there are
Bhavna,
light
just
switches.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Any specific books that you can recommend, or
Yes,
just later
definitely.
after you're done, just put some of the names in the chat box here.
Yeah. So must read is Design of Everyday Things. It is
Mhm.
like the godly book for to learn design. And I would
Mhm.
say definitely read Nudge. And these are the books which was recommended to all the product managers by the CTO of Big Basket, Pramod. So, and these are incredibly great and
Mhm.
predictably rational. So this one also, again, I'll tell you, it has more to do with people's behavior. Okay, ultimately, when you're building a product, you have to kind of know how the people are going to react to it, right? Maybe some of them have heard about the decoy effect and all that, right? So like place, like the popcorn, classic popcorn example, that okay, there's something at 300, there's something at 700, and there's something at 600 also, right? So the decoy effect. So definitely read these books, and trust me, you'll be good at design, and you will get a hands-on of how people actually think, so that you can accordingly cater your strategy on the product. So yeah, I'll just put in more book recommendations in the chat.
Great. And I think in the meantime, Madhav, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on
Right.
how to really gain those key skills that you had mentioned earlier.
Right. So I am a very hands-on person. I think I am more towards an entrepreneurial side than so much about the academic. So I have done all of those, what Bhavana said. I've read through almost all the books that Bhavana mentioned and a lot more. I've gone through so many of the courses online. I've paid for courses also. I've gone through a lot of seminars, events, and believe me, whatever I've learned, like the most that I've learned is by doing stuff, even if it is a very, very small thing. So let's say I want to learn UI UX as a product manager, right? That I have definitely read all the books, everything, and it has definitely helped me a lot in my skills. But I think what helped me the most, when I actually went down, heads down, and I actually looked at a problem, tried to solve it through UI UX, and brought it up. Right, similar with any other thing, critical thinking or any other thing for that matter, or let's say when you want to visualize the data. So all of that, I would say that as a product manager, ultimately you have to do it, as like you have to be doing it. So I would say that if the sooner you start that, I think it's better. You can always do anything, like Bhavna mentioned that, okay, if you went to a place and you are not able to see how should the door handle be, either it should be push, pull, why there's a push, pull sign and all of that, right? How would you design? That's a common problem, right? How would you design? Just maybe take a paper and pen and just design it. So I would say a more hands-on approach goes very further.
Got it. That's it's greatly helpful. I think two very different answers. So again, kind of shows there's not just one approach to acquire all these skills. I think you need to use a little bit of diverse approaches and see kind of what work for you. It's interesting though that I would say, Bhavna, you focused on books, and Madhav, you said mostly on the job and kind of really doing things in an entrepreneurial way. Makes sense. I like the fact that your answers did not align with what I was anticipating, which was like boot camps and courses and stuff like that, right? And what that means is, since you guys have been able to land a role, is that a lot of the products and tools and advice that's out there, kind of on social media and everywhere, it may not always result in tangible outcomes, right? So people have to make very informed decisions, and I'm glad that you shared that with us today. The next one that I just want to quickly talk about here is
Arjun, I want to add one point about the boot camps.
Yes.
Okay. Because I get that question often, even in my mentoring sessions, that which course should I do? Like there's so many schools, there's so many platforms now who give this product management certification. And I've seen students coming out of it, and then they're not able to crack even a simple interview question. So I think even if you're willing to spend a little amount of money on these, I think spending it on the right one is important. And personally, I have seen multiple platforms like Pragmatic Leaders, Product Thinking, Next Leap. Like I have seen these very closely for the last 2 to 3 years. I have no collaborations with them, but as an honest feedback, I think if you really want to invest some money, maybe Next Leap is better, because I have seen the work which comes out from the students, because they share it on LinkedIn. And trust me, just by reading that, you can develop that product thinking. Okay, so just try to follow Next Leap and students who are posting about the case studies which they did during their course. I think that itself is very insightful. In fact, I also read it because it gives a very different point of view. So it's really good. And even if I think Madhav made this point that if you can follow some good product leaders on LinkedIn and see these case studies, trust me, that's more than enough. But if you're still willing to make some investment, definitely go for, let's say, project management certification. because those certifications will help, and not let's say these product management certification from, let's say, from some organization that has never worked. I have seen this in resumes. It doesn't really work. Okay, it's ultimately what you got out of that particular course. That is what is
Right.
important, and that's what I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
100%
great.
on that.
No, very, very interesting insights. And I like the fact that you actually took a stand with regard to which boot camp
Yeah.
or course might be actually the most helpful based on
Yes.
your experience. I'm
Yeah.
glad that you did that. The other thing that I wanted to ask about, and again, it's in some of the questions here in the chat, is how do you really transition from a tech role, specifically from a tech role, to product management? Because I think that is one of the most common questions that people in tech field, either as a software developer or a QA engineer or some of the other related tech roles. So maybe you can share the biggest challenge for both of you. Madhav, we can start with you. Like, what was your biggest challenge in terms of trying to pivot from tech role as a software developer as SAP into a product manager, and maybe one thing that really helped you make that transition?
Right. I think I don't mean anything wrong for the tech people here, but as a tech person, you are very much motivated by a tech problem that is coming to you, not so much a customer problem, right? So there are cases like when even I was an engineer, where I would be like, I have made this amazing app and now the customer will be using it, right? When the customer comes, they are not able to figure out a very simple task. So I, as a developer, get mad that what this foolish customer, he is not able to do this, right? This is a developer kind of thinking. But if you want to transition to a product manager, the thinking should be like, why is the customer not able to do it? It is maybe not the customer's fault, but it is our fault that we have made it in such a way, right? So I think this is a major thing that a developer or someone who is in a tech role, and it gets wired in them, like over the years.
Right.
If you spend more time, it gets wired that you have to be solving a tech issue, and it is like it gets so much in details that people just lose the context of customer. There are I think a lot of times very few customer calls also happen directly with the technical folks. So there also they lose the context. I would say if you are a tech person, start talking to customers. If there's any channel, you have to meet your customer success team, sales team, whatever it is. If you start talking to customers, you would actually understand the pain point, and then maybe you will be also able to get into that frame of mind where you understand that the customer's issue and not a technical issue.
Got it. Yeah, that's great actually. I think it's again very pointed, very insightful in terms of what really holds you back as a tech person, because the context of your problem and your everyday job is different compared to perhaps what a product manager might be doing.
Right.
Bhavana, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, definitely. I think I totally agree with what Madhav just said, because coming from that tech background, what happens is like we never think about the customer, right? So like, oh, this is working fine, this is loading fast also, right? So but that's not what it is. If a product is not working like the way we expect it to work, it is the failure of the product. Maybe it was not even needed in the first place, or maybe we have not done it well, maybe we've not designed it well. So I think it's really that mindset which needs to change, and also the way to learn to bridge this gap, right? I think it's about talking. Okay, just talk to every person available in your floor and see what are they working on. Okay, because the more you understand, let's say, about operations, the more you talk to, let's say, customer service team, the more you talk to marketing team, you will understand, oh, what are the different things that they're building and why are they even building it, right? So that is how you will even develop the business thinking. So for example, when I transitioned also, it was very, I mean, design things, yes, I was learning from the books, and of course because of my everyday interactions with designers. But in getting that business mindset, I think it took quite some time, because the business background people, like those stakeholders, they're always like, how much money are we going to save from this? Are we going to save like 50 lakhs? Oh, this is going to save 1 crore. Let's do this. Right. So they are talking in those big numbers. And I'm like, okay. So I think the transition, that mindset change, which needs to happen is, as an engineer or anyone coming from a tech background, you need to start thinking in terms of the cost that is being saved or the extra revenue that you're going to get every month. So that's the mindset shift which needs to happen. Yeah.
That's great. I know we are kind of running out of time here, but if you have maybe another 2 minutes, we can cover one last question and then wrap it up, if that's okay with
Yeah,
both of
yeah.
you. Madhav,
Yes,
is that
I'm
okay
fine
with you
with
as
it.
well?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, great. The last one, which again has come up in a couple of questions here, and I have personally heard those from other folks as well, is, if I'm just starting out in the product management field, should I be going into a more early stage startup, kind of, where I'll be getting much more exposure, and really having accelerated on the job learning, as Madhav, you were pointing out, right? Or because I'm just kind of starting out and I'm new to the field, should I play it a little more safe and go to a larger MNC, and really learn from other more experienced folks around me? So both kind of have their own pros and cons, perhaps, at least in my perspective. But what would you say, Madhav, to people who are thinking like this?
I think it sounds diplomatic, but it depends on people to people, right? So if you are, ultimately, you have to, as you're starting it out, you have to learn, right? So if you are a kind of person who learns by doing stuff, I would say go to an early stage startup, because you will get lots of opportunities. You will like fail at least 100 times before passing one. Okay. So if you are that kind of person, early stage startup is definitely good for you. But if you are a person who follows uh, by following leaders, or let's say someone who is mentoring you, if you're that kind of person, I think MNC would be a good place, because there people would already be there who have had years of experience, and they, I believe me, people actually want to help. The notion that no one wants to help, it's not true. If you go and ask, people will be definitely there to help you. So in that case, I would say that go for something, if even if not MNC, something a little bigger than very early stage, because early stage, you are the owner and you have to drive everything, and you have to fail and learn everything on your own. So depends on what kind of person you are, choose that.
Great. Yeah, no, I think, I mean, it's diplomatic, but also perhaps very balanced answer, because, if you say something like, okay, you should only target startups or just target MNCs, it may not be relevant depending on, what your background, your, working style is, and what kind of experience you're looking for. Bhavana, what are your thoughts on this?
See, based on my observation, applying to MNCs and trying to get into product management does not work very easily. Okay, because the ones that they take is generally with a lot of experience already. They really expect you to be already good and have at least few years of experience. So I would definitely vote for startups, and be it like even 1 year or maybe even 3 to 4, 5 years early in that stage, right? So because startups, what they do is they give you a lot of room. Okay, and the thing is, everyone is experimenting, and even you are experimenting. And trust me, like whosoever starts in product management, trust me, no one would know everything what to do there. Okay, for everyone there is like good 50% which is a question mark. So I think it's good, or easy to kind of fail in that startup mode, because everyone would be okay about it, because everyone is experimenting, including the founder himself. So I think startup would be the best choice. So even whether they pay well or not, what I would say is join a startup and get that 1 or 2 years of experience. And even the startup experience, like you said, even you being a founder, even Madhav being an entrepreneur, you will really get to interact with the whole team, all the teams, right? And that is really required for you to be a better product manager in the coming years. Because if you join an MNC, you're kind of very focused, right? I gave an interview in Walmart, and it was just like I was the product manager for similar products. You see similar products in an e-commerce, Like there's a product manager just for similar products. Like you see how in depth or how siloed it will become. But let's say in a startup like Big Basket, I got to work on various things like search, customer experience, delivery app. So I think working in a startup, especially in the early stage of your product management career, is very, very important. And of course, as you grow, even I will join a MNC itself in the future. But I think to get started, startups is the best thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences and insights, both Madhav and Bhavana. I think it was a very, honestly, one of the most insightful sessions I have had on product management. I've myself taken a boot camp course actually 4 years ago in US at General Assembly in product management. I think some of the insights you have shared today kind of build up on what was being talked about or practiced 4 years ago in New York, right? So I honestly learned a lot, and I hope our audience did too. Just one last thing that I would like to share with people who are here is both Madhav and Bhavana are mentors on our platform, Pivot. So in case you are thinking about transitioning into product management, building a career in that field, you can have one-on-one sessions with them and get very personalized, targeted feedback on your specific situation, how to identify the right role within product for yourself, and then creating a transition strategy to get you to that role. So in case you're interested in speaking with Madhav or Bhavana, please do check out our website. We're sharing its link here in the chat box. It's www.mypivot.work. And with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday evening in India. Madhav and Bhavana, thanks again so much for your time. I would love to perhaps do it again and do it slightly differently, talk about other things within product with you if you're interested. But thank you again so much.
Thanks everyone for being so wonderful.
It was really good. Yeah, even the questions, they were really good. I mean, I really like it when they ask direct questions, and I would love to definitely give direct answers and not kind of go around. So definitely it was a great session, and you asked the right questions, and would definitely love to come back.
Amazing. Great. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. All right.
Awesome.
Bye.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye. All the best, everyone.